I think for me, when you're at a live storytelling event, the idea that you never know what's going to happen, and there really isn't a way to predict, even though we think there is. We think we can look at someone and have an understanding of what their story is going to be, and I'm always surprised by that. And I love that element of surprise, of never knowing until the person really gets up on stage what their experience is and how they look at the world and how that's similar or different from my own experience. Welcome to the Moth Vermont. I'm Sue Schmidt. I'm your producer, and we are so excited to be back live on stage tonight. There are lots of folks that end up in Vermont for lots of different reasons. We have folks that have been born and raised and lived here for many, many generations. And then we have lots of folks that are coming through for education, they're going to college. And then we have folks that are looking for a different kind of a lifestyle than you might find in other places in the country. And so when you bring all of those groups of people together, we get this beautiful multi-generational group of folks that show up at our story slams. We've had folks as young as 13 show up and get up on stage, and we've had folks in their 90s show up to tell a story. I think the Moth is all about community, and even though it's a global organization, we really, in Vermont, we try to build a tight community. So I know almost all of the storytellers, once they tell a story, we get to know them, we see them in town. Sometimes if I know we don't have a lot of storytellers, I might send an email out and say, hey, if you've got another story, we'd love to come hear you. And so we get a lot of the same folks that show up, and then they tell people about the event. And so I feel like when we've had difficult times, we've still pushed through with story slams. And so one time in particular, I remember there had been a mass shooting somewhere in the country. And it was the day before we were going to do the story slam. And we talked about whether we should cancel. And it made sense not to. And we came together, and the group that were in the room, we spent a couple of minutes right up at the top of the slam, just taking a couple of moments of silence to be there and to be present with each other. And that's a beautiful thing when that happens. It's not just about the stories, it's about the sense of community that those stories create.